Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Welcome to one of my railway series. There's a tannoy. We're here at Swindon Railway Station, the GWR Railway Station. The station at Swindon, obviously now managed by GWR, not the original company GWR, and it's known for its trains to places like South Wales and Paddington, Bristol, on up to Cheltenham Spa. But as well as this station here, there was another station in Swindon, and that was on the line that was operated by a company called the Midland and South West Junction Railway. And that's why we're here today, to have a look at what remains of the old M&SWJR, bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Be able to tell you a little bit about the history of the line and why it was built here on West Country Wanderings, for I hope you can join me for the tour here today. So if you're not familiar with Swindon Station, main line down that direction takes you down to Paddington. It has 4 platforms, 3 of them are main through platforms, and one of them is a bay platform, either used for trains going to Cheltenham Spa or down the West Wilts line to Melksham and Westbury. That's a useful line actually. It takes you down to Westbury so you can then connect up with trains going down to the south coast and even parts of Dorset and Devon as well. So that's, I've used that a few times, but this platform here, platform 4, that was built I think in the 1990 early 2000s, end of the 1990s, early 2000s. I can find the date that I put down there. So that was an addition here. Parts of the Swindon station here are the original station, but much is not. So the site looks very, very different to what it did do in the original days. And of course, it was electrified. It's electrified right through here to the Severn Tunnel down into South Wales and through to Paddington. From the area of Fleet Street at the moment, not in London, here in Swindon. And I think this was the route of the North Wilts Canal, which we'll meet up with again shortly, because the building next to me is called the Lock, and we'll be seeing some more of it as we go through the main shopping centre. In fact, I've done a separate video looking at the Wilts and Barks. Again, we'll be coming across that later on both of those here on one of these railway series videos. But we're going to head through that and catch up what remains of the Midland and South Western Junction Railway here in Swindon, which had its own railway station in what is now called Old Town, although there's no remains of that station itself because it's now an industrial estate. But yeah, really interesting to see that. I did look out with all the tarmac dug up here at Fleet Street to see if I could see anything of any old locks or anything like that, but I don't think they've dug down deep enough. It's just a breaking in the first top layer of the tarmac, so nothing else other than that. But we'll continue our journey here in Swindon in Wiltshire. Now, when I was coming in on the train on the Golden Valley line here to Swindon, you could actually make out part of the original North Wilts Canal, which is now like an impromptu lake that runs parallel to an industrial site just to the north of the town centre. I'll include the map so you can see where that is now, but I don't want to walk around that area today because it's only very narrow and very, very muddy footpaths. In fact, there's been flooding on the Great Western Main Line between Swindon and Bristol Parkway, and trains are delayed in that direction, but we're going to head across this way, which is the route I took before when I was doing my Wilts and Barks Canal video here in the area of Swindon. Now, it's good to see this here, so we know that we're on the right route, direction Symington, which was video number 1 in the Wilts and Barks Canal series here on West Country Wanderings. This isn't my usual habitat, is it, to going through shopping centres. Thankfully it's January, so it's not too busy. The January sales are on, but we're going to carry on down this way till we join up with the line of the old Midland and South West Junction Railway. So we're continuing on Canal Walk here through Swindon city centre, town centre. It's not a city, is it? No, I think there is a plan to make it a city. The only city in Wiltshire, of course, is Salisbury. just lies a few miles to the south here, which I visited with Louise from South West Sundays last year. I keep having to say last year now, because we're now, of course, in 2024, very early in 2024, early part of January, going under this canal bridge here, carried the road over the Wilts and Berks Canal. Sorry about the lighting conditions now, we're just going underneath that, and I think I've did my introduction to my Wilts and Berks Canal video on the top of this bridge. We're going to follow this way. It's not very interesting, this bit. Catch up with you when we get to our railway. Got a handy Wilts and Berks Canal Trust map here, so we've been following the canal line just down there, and then we're heading down to where it joins up with the Midland South Western Junction Railway at Skew Bridge, going onto the old railway track there. There is a Skew Bridge across the former line of the canal. Now that area is called Rushley Platt, and it's a really important part of our story for the Midland South Western Junction Railway. And the reason for that is to, with the complicated history of this line, as I'm walking alongside the towpath here, while it's quieter away from the traffic, I'll tell you about how this line came into being. That's better, away from that traffic now, so it's better. So how did this line come into being? Well, it started off as an idea to join the Northwest to Southampton, always been a strategic port on the English Channel, and the Northwest burgeoning in the end of the 18th century and expanding right through the 19th century because of all the mill towns. Two very important cities with Manchester and Liverpool, of course, wanted to connect up to Southampton. So they had a plan. In 1845 they tried to get an Act of Parliament passed to build a railway from Manchester to Southampton, but it never was passed through Parliament. There were several other attempts, and this whole line became a very fragmented local exercise rather than a strategic plan to build a line from the northwest to Southampton. Doesn't that sound familiar? Ran into lots of difficulties. Meanwhile, of course, the GWR became dominant in the Swindon area, connecting up to both Bristol, South Wales, and Paddington, as we saw at the start at the busy Swindon railway station, which is still going strong, of course. There were the Midland Railway Line, and Midland Railway Line had built a line between Birmingham, Gloucester to Bristol, and then Bristol to Exeter, of course into the southwest, the area we're familiar with here on West Country Wanderings. But that was further away, and they wanted their own line, their own slice of the action to get from this part down to the south coast. So there is in fact two separate lines which joined at Swindon, and one of those lines went from the town of Cheltenham to Swindon, and the other line went from Swindon to Andover in Hampshire, and then it had running powers over the London and South Western Junction Railway from Andover, which took it into Southampton. Now the connection was to be at a new station to the east of Swindon, and the layout in Swindon is quite complicated. As we'll see, it crosses over the Golden Valley Line, the line I travelled down to Swindon on today. Hopefully there should be a bridge there, so we'll have a look out for that, where intersects, well not intersects, goes over and under with that. And there was another intersection where it meets the Great Western Main Line just to the east of Swindon town centre. We'll have a look at that as well. Rushley Platt actually had 4 platforms, split level. There was a high level Rushley Platt, and it's at high level Rushley Platt that I'm hoping to see some remains of the M&SWJR. I think that's right. That's still a mouthful, isn't it? And there was a low level part of it as well. I'll insert a map now because it'll make more sense. It's difficult trying to describe what the layout was on. So it was like a bit of a over and under job. So you got the line coming out from the connection at the GWR, and then it was going over and then under. So the first part of the local endeavours was businessmen in Swindon got together with businessmen from the neighbouring town of Marlborough, which we covered in a previous vlog here on West Country Wanderings, and businessmen from Andover in Hampshire, and they thought they'd promote their own line connecting those 3 towns. It would be good for their business interests. They got some capital, well, they put out a tender, but only some 300 or just over £300,000 of money was raised, which is more than, or less should I say, than what they needed. Construction started around 1874, and in 1875 the contractor went bust. And just to the east of Swindon town centre, they needed to build a tunnel. They started to bore the tunnel, and then that collapsed. In 1876, the entire company went bankrupt. So we're now at Rushleigh Platt, and this is the famous skew bridge over the Wiltshire Barks Canal, which I featured in my Swindon Wiltshire Barks video. But we're heading up there this time onto the track bed itself. See what we can see, the remains, the M&SWJR here. Just up ahead here, amongst the trees, there seems to be a widening in the track bed. So that's our track bed there, heading back where we'll be going that way, back over the canal, heading to a country park where it meets up with the heritage line, which we've done previously on here. So all these things link together. But yeah, there's a widening here. So let's see if we can see what's over there on the right-hand side. Now there's a definite widening in this area. We've actually got some railway fence posts. That's always a good sign. You can just see there's a bit of a cutting, and I think that was our curve. That was the curve that took the railway down to the lower level, to Rushleigh Platt lower level. So it's a very complicated layout here. And I'll see if I can find some old photographs that are copyright free and share with you now, so you can see this, because looking at on the ground here is quite confusing. It's not obvious as to what the railway track layout was, but I do believe that was a course of our railway in there, and also the course of our railway on the higher level here behind me. Let's carry on exploring in this area. Fascinating area. And the sun's come out and the rain stopped as well, which is always great. Now, I've just been looking at some historical maps on my phone. Always difficult looking at detailed maps on a phone, particularly with a dodgy 4G signal. But it looks like the Rushleigh Platt and the divide and the section that heads down to Andover, splitting off and joining the Great Western Main Line, was the other side of the skew bridge going over the Wiltshire Barks Canal. And we need to look out for a bridge called Red Post Drive Bridge. What I do remember seeing that bridge when I was walking following the canal on the previous one. So the station was actually before that, so it's after the skew bridge, but before we get to the Red Post Drive Bridge. So we're going to go back over the canal, see if we can see that. So I don't know why the railway was so wide at this point, because the railway fence posts are way over to the left and to the right. Maybe that was just because of drainage, because the railway track bed here is at a higher level than the land that it surrounds. So I'm guessing that was purely for a drainage function. Good idea, especially with all the rain that we've had lately. What I mean, so I'm standing in the middle of the track bed at the moment. That was Swindon Town Station in that direction, the M&SWJ station, and the fence, sorry about the lights in the wrong place, is way right over that side. So I don't know why you have that cutting and what looks like a curve, but it's nothing to do with the former railway track, as far as I can see. Anyway, unless you know different, please drop a comment below. Well, anyway, we're going to continue back over the canal and see if we can find this platform edge here on West Country Wanderings. I'm now back over the canal again, over the old Wiltshire Barks, and I can see the bridge ahead of me, which has been renewed, so we can walk on that bridge. But the line split before we get to the bridge, so it should be somewhere here. So my eyes are peeled, so if they're wandering off the camera lens, it's because I'm trying to look for this platform edge. So this is Red Post Drive Bridge, which has kind of been redone since the railway closed. I think parts of it though are from the original M&SWJR. But I'm still confused because I don't seem to be able to find this platform, which is really annoying, because our line, the section heading down to Andover and joining up with the Great Western Main Line, would have curved away on a lower level, because obviously I'm at the higher level here, which is where the higher level Rushleigh Platt station would have been. But around here, nothing, literally nothing at all. So I'm a little bit mystified. If I'm thinking, I still get a gut feeling it was where the track bed was wider, and I think the online map may be slightly out, so I do think it's the other side of that canal there, but it is a little bit strange. I'll see if I can do some homework online when I get back home. But this is our bridge here, which has been wonderfully restored, so we're going to continue on over that bridge and see where the line meets the Golden Valley line between Swindon and Cheltenham. And while we're doing that, I'll tell you then a little bit more about the history of this railway. So I've just come over that Red Post Drive bridge. Bit of a eureka moment here, because that down there is the turn-off, the turnout, which would have headed down to meet up with the GWR main line. Also the route for Andover. The higher bit is the bit that heads on in the direction of Cheltenham via Blunsdon and Cirencester, and that's the direction that we're going to be heading. So I think our remains of our Rushley Platt high level bridge will be somewhere over here. So that's our track bed heading down to the lower level there. It gets quite overgrown. We're going to stick to the track, which is now I think it's called the River Ray Parkway, which will take us into the country park. We'll be following that for the rest of the video, the journey, as I tell you about the history. But yeah, this is the section here. Still haven't found the edge of that platform, but we're going to join the higher level section of the platform now. At this point here, it does cross over a really wide bridge, one for the lower level section of the track and one for the higher level. Can't quite make out what it's actually going over. Looks like it was a farm track. It's certainly no longer used, because this has become much more of an urban area than it once was when the M&SWJR was in full flow. Now it's great finding the platform edging here, particularly because this railway station here, both upper and lower level, was the lower level that opened first, followed by the upper level. The reason for that, but it opened in 1883, but the whole thing closed by 1905, because this was, unlike today, a very rural area. You didn't have the big industrial units and factories, etc., that you've got now. It was in the middle of nowhere, really. There was initially a service between the GWR mainline railway station, where we started our video, to Swindon Town Station, which lies not in what is now Swindon Town Centre, but what is known as Old Town. In my opinion, the better of the two halves of Swindon. And let's say that site has no longer, was all demolished. It's now an industrial estate, as I say. And there was a short service there, I think just for 2 years, but because GWR charged the M&SWJR high access fees to use their track, the service only lasted for a mere 2 years. And I said the whole thing closed here at Rushley Platt in 1905. We're going to continue our journey on now right through to the country park, where there is a little bit to see. But we need to make our diversion before we do that, and before I tell you more about the history of both of the railway companies and how they joined together to form the M&SWJR. But yeah, so our railway goes, where is it? Off down there to the right. And there's a reason we can't follow that bit. Well, we can follow it for a bit, because this is the bit where it would have joined with a bridge going over the GWR main line. That's no longer accessible, so we have to go on a new route following the footpath down the cycle track, the River Ray Parkway, to join it with the country park. But just see what we can see. I don't think we're going to be able to get very far with it, because it is very, very muddy. Let's just have a quick look here. So yeah, so it continues in that direction there, but I'm not going to go down there, because it is, with all the rain that we've had, it is very, very boggy, and it's very much overgrown. Oh, there is one thing. Now, I'm glad I did that little version, but it's also got me a little bit confused, because I think the internet is wrong, because it said there's only one platform edging. I think there's two. The bit that I just showed you, I think, is platform edging, part of concrete base, but here we have some brickwork as well. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. So that's the other platforms. Obviously there was two platforms for Rushley Platt higher level and two platforms for the lower level, which now goes lost in down there, and then it goes into this big industrial complex, so there's no point proceeding with that. But this is a wonderful bit here. Well, that's made my day finding that, because I didn't expect to find that and that, which would have been on the opposite side of the track. You can hear freight trains on the GWR main line just behind me there, so we're very close to that again now as we double round on ourselves. But yeah, this, considering that this station closed best part of 120 years ago in 1905, now in 2024 of course. It is leaning somewhat, but you expect it after zero maintenance after 120 years. But look at that, that's just brilliant. And that's fantastic remains here, the Midland South West Junction Railway, Rushley Pat, upper level, here in Swindon. As we walk now, carrying on to the country park, obviously there are some other bits and pieces to see I've been promised. I still can't get over that. That's great. That was great seeing that. I'm glad I just poked my head down there. It's well worth doing. Sometimes it is worth doing that. The Swindon, Marlborough and Andover Railway, where they went pretty much into bankruptcy, but the government this time stepped in. They had the Act of Parliament to open the line. They were determined it was going to do it, and there was a new debentures offered for the contractors. I can't remember the name of the contractors, I'll put that in below. And the contractors offered a deal, a share of the profits of the line, which they took up, and construction restarted later on in 1880, completed just 2 or 3 years later. So the line opened, as I say, at Rushley Platt Station, opened here in 1883, enabling traffic to go through from Swindon down in direction of Andover, which is really good, connecting up Swindon to Southampton Channel ports. That's not our full story though, because obviously what this line was on, the upper level here at Rushley Platt, was nothing to do with the Swindon, Marlborough and Andover Railway at all. It was to do what was known as the Swindon and Cheltenham Extension Railway. Has its own unique history before the two became one. So having got Swindon connected up to the English Channel and Southampton, that obviously wasn't enough. They needed to connect it up to the Midland Railway and the North West. That was the key for both the Midlands and the North West, Industrial North West and the West Midlands. So a separate act was passed in 1881 to build a line from Rushley Platt, where I am currently, to Andoversford, a little to the east of Cheltenham, where there was the Cheltenham and Banbury Railway. So it's going to connect up with that there and then link into Cheltenham itself. That construction started just towards the end of 1881 and it was completed by 1883 when the aforementioned Rushley Platt higher level station opened here. So our track continued along, so you can see some fence posts are there at the higher level. There's also some fence posts to the left and to the right of me, and I'm not quite sure why they are there, but it was possible that it was just to mark the boundary of the land. Now what happened next was that you had a line that went from here, from Swindon down to Andover, and another line that was going on from, that's the GWR main line again, just right in front of me, going on up to Cheltenham. But no through company, no through route. Needed to link Cheltenham. It was at Cheltenham Lansdowne, which is the existing Cheltenham station. Also going through Leckhampton and places like Cirencester and Chedworth, where there was a tunnel. This all connected up, but they didn't have enough trains. So when the line opened, there wasn't any through trains between Manchester or Cheltenham or indeed Southampton. So we've now reached up with the Great Western Main Line. That direction there takes you to Bristol Parkway in South Wales. And down in that direction there takes you to Swindon Main Railway Station. Because we've already had that link, which we saw, the lower level linking off going round to Swindon Town, here the track was on an embankment passing over the main line on a bridge. That's not the only mainline obstacle that the M&SWJR had following its route up to Cheltenham. Because of course there's the Golden Line, the Golden Valley Line, which is what we'll see shortly. So currently in industrial state, Bridgemead. That's Bridgemead trash screen down there for the River Ray, the Environment Agency. And that's our track bed. It would have come up here and gone right through what is currently Wren Kitchens before it hits one of two country parks. So I'm following it along here. Looks like an old railway ballast there, but I don't know if that's from where they've been breaking up hardcore, whether it's from the original route, it's hard to tell because obviously so much of this area has been redeveloped since the line closed. But certainly along here, oh, we have some railway stuff over here to show you. Away from all of that is some railway fence posts here opposite Wren Kitchens. If you know Wren Kitchens in Bridgemead in Swindon, you'll know where I mean. Got some in there, some additional ones too, but I think our track bid would have been in the wood there, just to the right of that. Oh, we can actually join it. We can join it here. It's very muddy. I'm not going to stay on this, I don't think, because it goes goodness knows where. It doesn't where I'll join up with the country park. But yeah, so this would have been our track bed through there. I just showed you that's it in the other direction, but it is built on with fences in that area now. Sainsbury's Bridgemead, which is just through there in the car park. So our railway come from behind me here. We've got something really interesting to show you here. Although it's got new coping bricks on the top of it, you can see that there, those red bricks. Underneath, I do believe, that's our railway brickwork in there, which would have carried on the top here, just where this wall is. Across here with the Sainsbury's car park on the other side of it. It says Mannington, sign's a bit damaged down this way, so we're going to turn off to the right. I'm still on the River Ray Parkway, so we must be going in the right direction. So this is the River Ray. It's Gree feed there. The other end of it we saw at Bridgemead. It's the other end of the Sainsbury's car park in that direction. So we'll be following the River Ray, continuing it through. I think we're going past something called Mannington Recreation Ground currently, before we get to Shaw Park and then Malden Hill Park, where we'll be concluding our video. But this part of it here, you can't make out the track at all, but we will be on the exact route of the track, probably in about half a mile or so. So I'll catch up with you then. Now I've caught up with the River Ray again. So it's floodplain here, so it's a very, very long bridge which I'm walking across now. I'll put some extra footage so you can see, well, you can see it down there. So the river here has completely burst its banks, but I don't think that's anything out of the ordinary judging by the sheer length of this bridge. I'm really glad that this bridge is here. And then shortly on the other side we should be able to catch up with our railway track bed again. So in there, actually, according to the OS map, looks like there were pits and shafts. Not sure what mining that would have been, whether it was quarrying or coal. Not aware of any coal seams around Swindon, but I'll check that out and see if I can find out and put that in the usual way below. But interesting anyway. Now, unfortunately, although I've caught up with the cycle path again, as you can see, there's a great big fence across it. That's because Thames Water relaying some pipes in this area. Typical. But I'm going to continue on to the country park, the name which has completely gone out of my head, the one of two, and see if I can catch up with the railway track there. Down here is where the track bed would have come through as well. I don't think there's going to be much to see that because it's been used as a connecting road for some time rather than a cycle route, so I don't think there's anything significant in there. But that was the route of our former M&SWJR here in Swindon, going, well, that's the direction back to Swindon where we were at the start of the video. I'm currently in Shaw Forest Park, one of two country parks I said to be in the area. I'm feeling a little bit tired. I haven't found a seat or been able to sit down or even have a cup of tea since I sat up off the train when I got off at Swindon well, how long ago was that? Some time ago anyway, probably about 4 or 5 hours ago. So I've not had any lunch yet, and it's heading up to 3 o'clock. So if there isn't any seat in this one, I'm hoping there was going to be one in the next one. I'm going to head across Shaw Park, Forest Park here. I don't know why it's called Forest Park. It's not really a forest, it's just a small woodland here sandwiched in between two main ring roads, and our track bed is over the other side here, and I'm hoping that it's going to be clear. That I think it's a bit where Thames Water have finished, so I'll be able to follow that into Malden Hill Country Park. But not as yet. There is a seat there, but someone's decided to cut it in half, which is not great. So I think our track bed is just over here by this copse. Let's go and have an overlook and see if we can join up with it there. Over there is something I wanted to show you, and I'm still not sure whether it is open. There are some fences around it. That is the bit where the M&SWJR goes underneath the Golden Valley line, the line between Swindon and Cheltenham Spa, making its own route up via Cirencester itself and the other places like Chedworth. But I'm not sure if we can get down there. I'm going to persevere on here. If not, I'm going to have to retrace my steps again to make my own way around to where the Swindon to Cricklade Heritage line is and show you some bits and pieces there. But it is being a little disappointed now. I know I wanted to say when I did my monthly vlog I wanted to bring you some adventurous type videos. Well, it's certainly that very unexpected day, but not quite how I wanted it to turn out. We can't go any further, unfortunately, because there is a closure notice on this, although it has actually expired. It's dated July, and it's 6th of July, and it says it lasts 6 months, which takes us up to, well, just a couple of days' time, but there's no way this is opening in a couple of days, so they need to get an extension order on this. And there's no signage at all to tell you that there's a closure to this major cycle route heading through North Swindon here. But our railway bridge is down there, but I can't make it out. So I can see if I can continue further on in this direction. Now, this name of this part of Swindon seems to go under a multitudinous number of names. According to the OS map, it says Sparkles, but also in this area was a stub off the Midland South Western Junction Railway to serve Multon Power Station, which I believe opened in the 1950s. And actually didn't close until 1971. So after the main closure of the line in the 1960s, you had this stub coming up from Rushley Platt junction with the Great Western Main Line there, and serving off a little stub here to the power station, which would have been hereabouts, I guess. It possibly could have been in the area I am now, which is a lovely nature reserve, actually far nicer than where we were at Shaw Forest. So yes, unfortunately that is our railway track bed right in there again, where they're laying in this section a new sewage pipe up to Hayden Hill, which is in the direction I think I'll be capturing the bus back into the railway station in Swindon town centre shortly. But yeah, closure here. This actually started in August 2023, and it does say this section here goes on for at least 12 months, and it does give you a diversionary route. I managed to find a seat back there, grab something to eat and drink, so that was good too. Yeah, this is called Sparkles around here. Really pleasant nature reserve. There is a footpath that we're going to use, and I think it goes underneath the railway line. So we're going to join up with that now, and then, because I said our bridge, which I couldn't quite see, was that way, but we'll see if we can get through there now. Now beside me here, I've had to make another diversion because, yes, you guessed it, access to our rail track bed is blocked there. But this here is Purton Road Bridge, which went over not the Wilts and Berks Canal, but the North Wilts Canal, which obviously was an arm that extended the Wilts and Berks Canal up to the Thames and Severn Canal at Latton. I'm actually going to be doing a separate video about where it joins the Latton in more detail later on, but it's good to see a section of the North Wilts Canal here in Swindon in water. I while I'm walking along this nice quiet towpath here in Swindon, it's time to introduce a character into our story of the Midland South Western Junction Railway, and that is one Sam Fay. Now, after the amalgamation of the two railways, the Cheltenham extension and the Andover bit south of Swindon, profits for the railway remained low. It wasn't generating the traffic that they expected. And Sam Fay was only 35 years old, and he worked for the London and South Western Railway, which the Midland South Western Junction Railway used to get access from Andover down to Southampton. And they contacted the London South Western Railway for advice about how could they improve the profits of the line. To cut a long story short, Sam Fay became the General Secretary of the Midland South Western Junction Railway and managed to turn around, to some extent, the fortunes of the railway. It was never going to be a really profitable line like the Great Western Railway, but it saved it carrying on. And it continued as its own separate railway until, of course, yes, you guessed it, it was amalgamated with the grouping of the four into the GWR in 1923. In 1900, the M&SWJR got a loan out from the Midland Railway, and the reason they wanted to do that is because they wanted to double the track. It was built as a single track line, and in stages from 1900 it was doubled. And the reason for that, and the reasons behind the Midland Railway was thinking, was because they thought it would increase capacity and therefore they could use it to connect their Midland Railway network to the Channel ports as well. It wasn't a huge success, but it did increase the capacity of the line, and it continued its fortune, although it was still passing through a rather rural area. Another thing which boosted its fortunes, though, was the war, starting off with the Boer War and the army camp at Tidworth. It also connects up with the base at Ludgershall, which is still a section of that, a stub of that I think is still used. I think we might need to head down there at some point to have a look at that continuation of my military railway series. So you had the war there. There was also a camp just on the outskirts of Swindon as well, so a lot of military traffic was generated on the Midland and South Western Junction Railway. With the nationalisation of British Railways in 1948, the railway fell between two stalls. Part of it was looked after by the Western region, and another part was looked after at the Southern region. The dividing line between that was a place called Grafton. In 1958, the running powers changed as well. It was running into Cheltenham Lansdowne, busy station on the Midland Railway, and that changed, and it was then just running trains to Cheltenham St James. Sadly, the combined efforts of Sam Fay in the 19th century, the doubling of the line at the turn of the 20th century, the increased capacity, and the military stock wasn't enough. The line closed on the 9th of September 1961, although parts of freight continued on a little bit longer after that. We have mentioned that stub, Morton covering the power station in 1971, and when the M4 was built, section of it we used to bring in gravel and tarmac around the Swindon area as well. What remains is very little, to be honest. There is a Chedworth tunnel to explore at a future date. I will hope to go south from Swindon to have a look at the line, the route of the line down towards Marlborough, and perhaps around to Ludgershall as well. What's this though? A bridge behind us, right at the end of the video. Let's have a look. Well, we've got a buffer stop for you. That seems appropriate at the end of the video. So this is Tor Valley Halt Station on the Swindon Cricklade Railway, which I have featured before. They had trains running on New Year's Day actually, but there'll probably be no more now until Easter. It's a great line though, so it's really good. And they are trying to link it up with Cricklade, which is North Wiltshire town, very delightful North Wiltshire town, which sits on the River Thames. Hope you enjoyed this little tour here. Well, it wasn't little, was it? But it wasn't quite what I had hoped for or expected really, because I was hoping that we were going to see lots more of the track bed and that bridge where it goes underneath the Golden Valley line. But because of Thames Water, unfortunately, and everything being closed off, alas, it didn't quite work out that way. I've got a bus to catch now in nearby Hayden Hill, back to the railway station at Swindon. Until next time on West Country Wanderings, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and I hope to see you on the channel again very, very soon. Thank you very much for watching today. All the best now. Bye-bye.
Great Western Railway service to London Paddington. Going at Reading and London Paddington. This train has 9 coaches.